My name is Alan, and for Spooktober, this video, which was meant to be Monday's video, we are looking at an urban legend that is connected to several calls to a radio show on Coast to Coast AM. Mel's Hole. Yes. This is an interesting little story because of all that happens in it. The first we hear of Mel's Hole is when a gentleman calls in to Coast AM in 1997. Coast to Coast with Art Bell. So yeah, it's an interesting story. As it says, it was eastern Washington, near Ellensburg, Washington. So remember, eastern Washington, you're away from Seattle and Aberdeen. You're on the eastern edge of the state, more inland. So there's quite a bit of rural existence around. Now, the name Mel Waters, as it says, later investigation revealed no such person is listed as residing in that area, and no credible evidence ever given the hole existed. But I think there's a total of like 4 or 5 phone calls the man makes to the Coast to Coast with Art Bell show. Now, that extends into a larger story. Let's look at the wiki here first, not Wikipedia, but wiki obscure urban legend. It says a strange location in urban legend that has captivated the imaginations since it was first came to light in 97. The tale revolves around a reported bottomless pit near Ellensburg, Washington, and was popularized by a caller named Mel Waters on the Coast to Coast AM, hosted by Art Bell, the radio show Coast to Coast. Which the show is still around, but of course Art passed away years ago, so it's run, but I think George Norrie is the guy who runs the show now. Yeah. The phenomenon has become a modern myth, intertwining elements of mystery, paranormal activity, and government conspiracy. Yeah, like I said, the story's very, very interesting. Background. February 21st, 97, Mel Waters calls in to the Coast to Coast AM and shares his astonishing claims about a hole on his property. According to Waters, this hole has no measurable depth. He claimed to have lowered fishing line into it for over 80,000 feet without reaching the bottom. He described bizarre occurrences associated with the hole, including reports of animals thrown into it returned alive. These fantastical assertions quickly captured the attention of listeners and sparked widespread intrigue. Waters' narrative included elements that resonated with themes common in folklore, mysterious disappearances, supernatural phenomena, and government secrecy. He suggested that federal agents had seized his land due to the extraordinary properties and relocated him to Australia for reasons not fully explained. So, yeah. That gives us a nice short synopsis. But let's go back to Wikipedia here. The legend of the bottomless hole started February 21st, 1997, as we said, with a man identifying himself as Mel Waters calls into Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Waters claimed he owned rural property 9 miles west of Ellensburg, Washington, that contained a mysterious hole. According to Waters, the hole had unknown depth. He claimed to have measured it using fishing line and a weight, although still had not hit bottom by the time 80,000 feet of line had been used. He also claimed that his neighbor's dead dog had been seen alive sometime after it was thrown into the hole. According to Waters, this hole's magical properties prompted U.S. federal agents to seize the land and fund his relocation to Australia. Waters made guest appearances on Art Bell's show in '97 on February the 21st, the first call, and February 24th. He also called in 2000 and 2002, so there's at least 4 calls. Broadcast of these appearances have helped create what has been called or described as a modern rural myth. The exact location of the hole was unspecified, yet several people claim to have seen it, such as self-described intertribal medicine man Gerald Osborne, known as Red Elk, who told reporters in 2012 he visited the hole many times since 1961 and claimed the U.S. government maintained a top-secret base there where alien activity occurs. The investigation in 2002 that would have been tied also, 2002 with his 4th call. A group of 30 people led by Gerald Osborne undertook an expedition to find the hole and were unable to locate it. Local news reporters who investigated the claims found no public records of anyone named Mel Waters ever residing in or owning property in Kittitas County. According to State Department of Natural Resources geologist Jack Powell, the hole does not exist and is geologically impossible. A hole of the depth claimed would collapse into itself under the tremendous pressure and heat from the surrounding strata. And said an ordinary old mine shaft on private property was probably the inspiration for the stories, and commented that Mel's Hole had established itself as a legend based on no evidence at all. Geologist Pat Pringle doubted Waters' story about having lowered 80,000 feet of fishing line into a hole. 80,000 feet, or right around 24,000 meters if you are on metric, saying that the heat of the earth would have snapped it before it reached such a depth. An art exhibition, Aspects of Mel's Hole, artists respond to a paranormal land event occurring in radio space, curated by LA Weekly art critic Doug Harvey, was presented at the Grand Central Station in Santa Ana in 2008. The show featured works by 41 artists and collectives. So, yeah. The Grand Central Art Center published a hardbound 146-page catalog in conjunction with the exhibit, containing contributions from all the artists, plus essays. But yeah, they have a number of external links, and an extra link I have, although I can't seem to get in, is from the Yakima Herald Republic. The growth of Mel's Hole continues to inspire fantastic storytelling in Central Washington. So yeah. So they have a short article on it, but of course I can't read it because it wants you to subscribe. Let me see if I can find you all Ellensburg, Washington. Maps. Boom, boom, boom. I don't want to know about that. Let's see, what did they say? How far was it? I think they said it's about 7 miles. 9 miles west. Oh. I did not want you to do that. Why did you try to do that? I mean, seriously, dude. That's taking me all the way out there. But yeah, let's see. Ellensburg. Let's do some zooming in. I don't want you to do that either. I mean, seriously, dude. All I wanted. I'm just trying to use the regular map, and it's like, no, no, no. Le Hoyo de Melwaters, Mel's Hole. So they're proclaiming it should be about there. Hmm. Can we zoom in? Because I know once upon a time they claimed, oh, it's Ruta al centro de la Tierra. Three photos. Let's see what they supposedly look like here. Well, you know, that's probably fake. I doubt someone jumps into a hole unless it's a small depth, especially at the risk of hurting yourself. But yeah. In fact, these look like different holes almost, unless there's a growth over top this type of setup, which this may be an older photo, being black and white. Anyway, that's as far as they let me zoom in. Now, do we have... Oh, terrain. Interesting. That is a little blacked out. Interesting. You can see the trees and then it's kind of just a dark spot. Very interesting. And this is Google Maps, if you do want to know. You can look it up for yourself using Google Maps. Huh. Interesting. So yeah. But there's a lot of weird things they proclaimed happened at that hole. Uh, let's open up a new tab. Uh, not what I want to do. I won't play it. But yeah. The Y-Files have done some work with Mel's Hole. If you've never watched the Y-Files, it's good. He talks about uh, mysterious conspiracies and this and that, and then breaks it down to what actually may be going on. But yeah. Um, Coast Art Bell Mel. Like that. Yeah, 5 calls altogether. And like we said, if you've never listened to Coast with Art Bell, it's a good thing to listen to. But I'll put some of these different videos on here so you can have something else to listen to watch and try to figure out what was going on. Because like I said, the story itself, crazy. Because they talk about animals that were dead, tossed in, that they saw alive again, like days later. They talk about locals using the hole as a place just to dump their junk. And they said, even with all that, no sound, it didn't act like it was filling up or anything. It was just, yeah. Now, all this being said, we're on hearsay. He said, she said. Mel Waters himself doesn't seem to even have been a real person. It was just an alias they were using. But you'll hear tales of him being forced off the land and paid so he could live in Australia. Coming back to America and being kidnapped and removing his teeth, and yeah, they get real weird. I don't really know what else to tell you. You have to listen to the stories yourself. Like I said, I'll post y'all some stories, some other videos you can watch on it. But yeah, I just decided I wanted to kind of talk about this. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed this. But as always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting links in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then,